The situation in Gaza is desperate. UN food groups today warned of the worst case scenario of famine. And the Hamas-run health ministry said more than 60,000 Palestinians have now been killed since the conflict began. Under pressure from MPs and some in his own cabinet, the Prime Minister today said it was time to act.
Today, as part of this process towards peace, I can confirm the UK will recognise the State of Palestine by the United Nations General Assembly in September, unless the Israeli government takes substantive steps to end the appalling situation in Gaza.
Those steps include Israel agreeing to a ceasefire and long-term peace plan, allowing UN aid to enter Gaza and to stop land annexations in the West Bank. But the Prime Minister was asked, why now?
I want to ensure that this plays a part in changing the conditions on the ground and making sure that that aid gets in, making sure that there is hope of a two-state solution for the future.
Outside Downing Street earlier, protesters were urging the government to do more. And one senior Labour MP said the UK does have a role to play.
Recognising Palestine is part of a peace process, but we need to recognise Palestine whilst there's still a Palestine left to recognise. I mean, the Israeli government at the moment are talking about annexing the West Bank. That is Palestine. They cannot have that as part of Israel if we're going to have a two-state solution.
At the United Nations in New York, the Foreign Secretary urged the Israeli government to act.
What we are attempting to do is affect the situation on the ground. We have seen the most horrific scenes. The global community is deeply offended by children being shot and killed as they reach out for aid.
Those scenes appear to have caught the eye of the US president, and Keir Starmer knows bringing aid and peace to Gaza will need Donald Trump's support.
Well, Harry, this is a major move by the Prime Minister. Was he forced into this?
Well, it has always been the UK government's, or the Labour government's position, it would recognise a Palestinian state as part of a peace process. What's changed in the last few weeks is pressure from MPs, pressure from other countries, perhaps France. They made this move several weeks ago, and the Prime Minister said that he thought the timing of this announcement today, he hoped would have maximum impact on the ground in Gaza. And it's certainly true that the language from the UK government towards the Israeli government has toughened in recent weeks. The Prime Minister, I'm told, spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel before he made this briefing to the cabinet today, and he repeated calls for Hamas to release the hostages, for Hamas to disarm and not play any role in a future government in Gaza. It does seem inevitable that the UK government will recognise a Palestinian state in just under 2 months' time. The question is whether this move will make any difference.
All right, Harry in Westminster, thank you very much. Let's go now to our senior international correspondent, John Irvine, who's in Tel Aviv. And John, the question that Harry just posed there, will this ultimatum from the UK make any difference, will it?
Lucrezia, I dare say we'll only know the answer to that the closer we get to that UN General Assembly come September. What I can tell you is that the steps the UK has taken so far in terms of slapping sanctions on far-right ministers, they've made no difference whatsoever. The Israeli Foreign Ministry has reacted tonight denouncing the UK's move, saying it rewards Hamas's terrorism and harms the prospects for a ceasefire. So it's a very similar response to President Macron's similar announcement last Thursday. But the difference between the UK announcement and the French one about the recognition of Palestine is that the UK's announcement is conditional and it came without President Trump standing in the way. I've no doubt Sir Keir Starmer ran this past Mr. Trump during their meetings in Scotland. Indeed, when the US president was asked about it, he said, "I would not object." That's a big problem for the Israelis at a time when there's some daylight between Mr. Trump and Mr. Netanyahu. The Israeli Prime Minister keeps on denying there's any starvation in Gaza. Mr. Trump, during his UK visit, said the pictures we've all seen on our television screens cannot be faked. Incidentally, Lucrezia, the vast majority of Israelis agree with Sir Keir when it comes to ending this war. Polls have repeatedly shown that more than 70% of Israelis want the war over and the remaining hostages brought home.
All right, John, in Tel Aviv, thank you. Well, millions of starving Palestinians in Gaza can't afford to wait for diplomatic action. They are in urgent need of aid now. After concerted international pressure, Israel has been forced to allow some foreign countries to deliver aid themselves. Our international editor, Emma Murphy, was invited on board a humanitarian flight from Jordan as it dropped aid into Gaza, and a warning that Emma's report contains images of malnourished children, which you may find upsetting.
So much is needed, so much is wanted, so little is getting through. Palestinians in Gaza have the pots to eat from, just not the food to fill them. Hunger and despair consumes them as the world is warned a worst-case scenario of famine is engulfing the population. Some supplies are getting in, Jordan's Air Force once again leading a multi-nation response to the crisis. This aid, which takes hours to load and seconds to cast out into the skies above Gaza, is less than one lorry can carry. It's estimated 1,000 lorries a day are needed simply to address the immediate need. But this way, at least, the aid can get further into besieged areas.
The amount of aid that can be dropped from planes like this is nowhere near enough to sustain a population in peril. It's far from the perfect solution. But there is no perfection in this situation and no sign of any solution to this war. So this is one way of getting some help in.
Parcelled up beneath the parachutes are basic foodstuffs, some sustenance from the sky. On the ground, as soon as the planes are spotted, the rush to find their cargo begins. For many, this is the only chance to eat. And it is a frenzy of movement to track down where the parachutes landed. Given the difficulties of directing where it will end up, some lands in the sea, but the water is no barrier. This man says he nearly drowned trying to feed his son, then reflects that they're dying anyway, so what difference would drowning make? Though more food is getting through, aid agencies say it's nowhere near enough given the hunger crisis that's now confronting Gaza. It is a crisis for babies like Noor. She's 13 months old and weighs only 13 pounds. The red band on her arm denotes her severe acute malnutrition. The constant hum of the drone, a reminder of the double threat to her young life. Her mother describes how the weight keeps falling off her and her immune system is failing. Yesterday, Noor's father tried to get aid but failed. Today, when he tried again, he was injured. It is a desperate way to live, fearing death from airstrikes and now from hunger. No wonder she weeps that today she didn't find food. She has no guarantee she will find it tomorrow either. Emma Murphy, ITV News, over Gaza.